Welcome back, Nick Lenz's Comic Corner, Classic Non-Classic. This is episode number 699 and Doubleshot number 603. Two independent-related trades. Yep. First up is a comic book from Image. This is the second book I've reviewed from Image, and that's We Stand on Guard. Yep, written by Brian K. Vaughan and artwork by Steve Sprockle. The story of this book is this. The United States has invaded Canada for some reason. They don't explicitly state why, but it's implied it's apparently something that it's saying in the book by the villains apparently that the Canada started this first, and apparently several cities getting targeted for some reason. Yeah. It's an interesting premise. Canada being invaded by the United States, though this has kind of happened in real life. This actually happened in War of 1812, where U.S. tried to invade Canada, but actually failed. Was it War? No, it was American Revolution. They actually tried to do it, but they failed. Of course, at the time, Canada only had two cities, Montreal and Quebec. Nowadays, there's a bunch of cities. And they say that apparently this was on the book since the 1930s. Okay. Yeah. My major problem with this series is that most of the characters in the series, with the exception of the main characters, are complete morons and not very interesting characters. Heck, even the villain, who's known as the American, who apparently originally was Canadian, she's not interesting. Just a woman who captures random Canadians, tortures them for no reason, and then send them to internment camp. Or send them to a camp where they work fields. Yep. The series does end with her death. I mean, that's kind of predictable. One of the things that got interesting, the only reason I read this series is because Brian K. Vaughan is a good writer. This is not basically one of his best works. Now, his major problem, this is kind of the same problem I had with Why Last Man, where most of the characters are uninteresting and complete morons. And I don't really care for them. At least in the case of the main characters, with this one, he actually bothered to actually develop them over the course of these 6 issues. Yep, this was a 6-issue limited series, released just a couple years ago. Yeah, this is not very long ago this was released. I think the series was released in 2016, but the trade was released in 2017. I kind of wish we had a little more issues to sort of explore these characters. But it had a very satisfying end to it, despite the fact the characters were not very interesting. I'm going to give this book a 9 out of 10. It's actually pretty good. But it was like a 9.5 because, well, it's not as good as a lot of other books I read. Yep. Next is book the reason why I chose that one first, because that one is actually a book people have heard of before. This one, when I saw this, I'm like, okay, I've heard of the writer before, but I've never heard of the series before. Excuse me, this series is called The Surrogates. This book is called Flesh and Blood. It's a one-shot graphic novel written by Robert Venditti. Yeah, he's the only reason why I read this. Because he himself I'm familiar with. Because I've read his work like Wrath the Eternal Warrior, the 3rd volume of X-Men of War. Let's see, what else? There's Solid and Atlantic-Corps, Green Lantern, The Flash. Oh yeah, he even wrote one issue of Justice League. The guy is a good writer. I gotta appreciate for that. He actually made this series quite interesting to me. It kind of reminded me of something that happened with the Brave and the Bold, with the Phantom Stranger, with this whole Jesuit, this whole preacher character who wanted to reclaim Gotham. This is a similar type of thing, but they wanted their own country, and they got some territory like outside the city. Yeah, the whole thing with the Surrogates, that's actually all about robots, and apparently this is supposed to be a sci-fi series. Oh yeah, and according to this actually takes place 15 years before the first book released. The only reason why I don't read any more, I've never read this before I got my hands on this, is because I've never heard of this series. Despite the fact I read this book before I read We Stand on Guard, is because this book, I don't think anybody's ever heard of this book before. That's the only reason why I reviewed this book second. That being said, at least the characters are interesting, and the fact that, well, the how should I put this? Yeah, despite the fact we get a chance to get the good small amount of development for every single character, and at least Brian K. Vaughan makes his characters interesting. Unlike Robin Finley, Brian K. Vaughan, half his characters. Now, the only series that's an exception to this rule is Paper Girls, Runaways, and Saga. Those three series, he makes every single character interesting, though he makes Captain America be a jerk in Runaways. But that is something. But Brian K. Vaughan is a topic for another time. But this is actually pretty good. I'm gonna give this book a 9.25 out of 10. The only ones I get 9.5 because prior to reading this book, never heard it before. All right, so that's it for this episode. Stay tuned for the next episode where I'm gonna cover 2 X-Men trades for my 700th episode. Yep, but to see you out there, bye.